Hello and welcome to English 2. I'm your online teacher, Miss Bear. We have a brand new unit today, but continuing to work on the same module from Engage New York. So let's dig right in because I did give you a bit of an introduction at the end of our last unit. So we are still looking at how authors present details to develop and refine their claim. This is my Unit 9, and the title of this unit is To Lift Men Everywhere to a Higher Standard of Life and to a Greater Enjoyment of Freedom. And that is a direct quote from one of the texts that we will be studying during this unit. So let's look at our agenda for the day. I'm going to introduce the module and the lesson agenda, which I'm doing part of that now. We will do a masterful reading. We will do a reading and discussion. Then we will do a jigsaw discussion, a quick write, before we close with a little homework. You can see the text listed to your right on the screen, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the preamble, and Articles 1 through 10. You can also see your standards there if you have any questions about specifically what we will be digging into for today. I want to remind you that this is part of the Engage New York curriculum. The state of New York developed this collection of Common Core aligned materials to support educators in providing college and career ready education for all students. You can see what the module contains and where we are in this module. You might ask yourself, why are we using Engage New York? Why are we using a curriculum that was aligned to Common Core when we no longer use Common Core here in Mississippi? Well, the answer to that is that, yes, we did change the standards, and we have adopted the Mississippi College and Career Readiness Standards, which are directly influenced by those Common Core standards. So there are a lot of similarities. Let's dig deeper into this module and see where we've been and where we're going. This particular module is called These Are Strange Times, My Dear, and you will probably ask yourself or even tell yourself, that describes today, right? It absolutely does. Most themes are universal, and this is a universal theme, so keep that in mind. In our first unit, we looked at Martin Luther King Jr.'s letter from Birmingham jail, along with 3 poems, and the title of that was The Cup of Endurance Runs Over. The last time that we met, we read through A Genetics of Justice, which was a biography by Julia Alvarez. And then you see there was also a short story or a news article that we read. And the direct quote from Unit 2 was, "No flies fly into a closed mouth." And then this time we're going to be exploring 3 texts, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, on the adoption of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights by Eleanor Roosevelt, as well as Malala Yousafzai, I can't not ever pronounce her name correctly. We're just going to say Malala's address to the United Nations Youth Assembly. All 2 of these are speeches, and one is a document. And so in the preamble for the Universal Declaration of Human Rights is this unit's theme, or the title of this unit is To Lift Men Everywhere to a Higher Standard of Life and a Greater Enjoyment of Freedom. And we're going to dig into that Universal Declaration of Human Rights today and look at some of the goals that we have. But I still want you to keep looking at this screen, because at the end of the unit, you are going to be writing an essay. This is going to be our Unit 10 that will incorporate Letter from Birmingham Jail, A Genetics of Justice by Julia Alvarez, as well as one of the 3 texts that we're looking at for this unit for this last part, Unit 3 in this module, but my Unit 9. So I want you to keep those in mind. Make sure you've got your binder. Remember, we've been keeping all of this information. Your teacher may be holding that binder for the other 2 units for you, but you'll be having all of these notes coming soon to put it all together. So let's look at the goals for this whole module before we look at what we're tackling for the day. So in this module, you're going to read, discuss, and analyze poems and informational texts, focusing on how authors use rhetoric and word choice to develop ideas or claims about human rights. And you can see everything that we've done up to this point explores that idea of human rights. The first was about civil rights with Dr. Martin Luther King, and then you had human rights with Jessica Alvarez, or Julia Alvarez. Was it Julia or Jessica? You tell me. Correct me, guys. We will be looking at those. Both of those have that idea of civil rights and the things that we as humans should be able to live by. And that's why the United Nations came up with this Universal Declaration for Human Rights, is looking at all of those things. And so let's look at our end of the module text, our task. So you're going to focus on the first 2 units, which was Martin Luther King's letter from Birmingham jail and Julia Alvarez's A Genetics of Justice. The third unit is that international document and 2 speeches. For the assessment, you're going to use the focal text for unit 1 and 2, and a third self-selected text from this unit to write a multi-paragraph response to the prompt. Identify a purpose common to King's letter from Birmingham jail, Alvarez's A Genetics of Justice, and one of the texts from Unit 3. Discuss how each of these texts uses at least one of the following to advance their purpose, or that purpose: structure, rhetoric, or impact of specific word choices. So I want you to keep that in mind as we go through this unit, and you will know that at the end of this unit, you'll write an end of the unit task for this one as well, and you'll wrap that up, and then we will immediately begin our end of the module task, which will be a huge essay at the very end of this to get you ready for that state assessment, because we're getting there. We're gaining momentum and getting there. I'm going to skip the goals for Unit 3 because that's not really important in what we're doing, but I do need you to understand the end of this unit task and what you're going to do. So based on your reading of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Eleanor Roosevelt's speech on the adoption of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and Malala's address to the United Nations Youth Assembly, as well as your notes, annotation, and various tracking tools, write a well-developed multi-paragraph response to the prompt. Delineate the argument of each of the unit texts and analyze how the authors develop a common central claim. And you will see that as we work through these texts. You know, in these other units that you were given these different tools in order to help you analyze all of the different things that it's looking for. You've got that delineation tool, the rhetorical impact tracking tool, a central ideas tracking tool, you have an evidence collection tool, and some author's purpose tools that you've been going along with. So now I want you, your teacher is going to play for you a masterful reading of the Universal Declaration for Human Rights. And you can see a picture of when that was adopted on the screen in front of you. But I want you, before we go directly into that, I want you to pull out your text so that you see I've given you plenty of space to annotate this text. So as we go through, make sure you are using your annotation tools and you are using your text to annotate. You've got space on the left margin and on the right margin in order for you to be able to get all of your notes that you need. And it looks like a lot, and it only looks like a lot here because of the way I printed this, or I saved this for you, because I wanted you to have plenty of room for your annotations. So let's go directly into our masterful reading. I hope you guys enjoyed that as much as I did. I loved listening to that and listening to all of the different ideas that came together. And when you think about the United Nations, this is a collective group of leaders. And if you know much about leaders, you know that they all want to be in charge. And so for this to be a document that these guys and ladies put together as thinking about the world around them, and just those basic human rights that all of us should be given, regardless of where you live in this world. So it's a great document that was put together. So let's move into, I want you with a partner to answer the questions on the screen in front of you. Great job. Okay, I'm going to go over the first two questions with you, and then just know, like we did in the previous units, I'm going to ask some of you to come up and lead the discussion with some of the other questions. So let's look at the first two questions and let's go over those together. Why are human rights inalienable from paragraph 1? Consider the structure and parts of the word inalienable to define the word. And so you see here the prefix in means not. The suffix able means to be able to. Alien means foreign or excluded. Therefore, human rights are inalienable rights because they cannot be taken or given away. Okay, you see that? All right, let's look at the next question. What words does the Universal Declaration of Human Rights use to describe people of the world in paragraph 1? What is the impact of this choice of words? The Declaration describes people of the world as the human family. This word choice develops the idea that all people have a responsibility for and a connection with each other. So that's really important for you to notate. And remember, anytime that we are going over these questions and answers, the answers that I have on the screen are the suggested responses. You may have additional thoughts that you want to add, and I do think that you need to make sure that as your class is discussing these, that you are updating your paper so that you have as much information to work with as you can. All right, I need a volunteer to lead the discussion for the next two questions. Oh, you guys did such a good job. Y'all are getting used to this, aren't you? I love it. I need a different volunteer to lead the discussion of the next two questions. Good job. All right, now I want you again with a partner, and this can be the same partner you worked with before or a different one, and I want you to reread paragraphs 6 through 8 and answer the questions that are on your board. Good job. All right, now you know I'm going to need 2 more volunteers, right? I need 2 volunteers to lead the discussion. The first 2 questions are on the board. If someone will lead that discussion. Great job. Man, you did a fantastic job. I can't wait to see how you guys have weave all of this together. All right, I need someone to lead the discussion for the next 2 questions. Fantastic job. Okay, now we're going to kind of switch gears a little bit and we're going to do a jigsaw. And you guys know I love a good jigsaw. So I want you to form groups of 3, and each group is going to complete their assigned section of the jigsaw. And you will see this in your packet of materials. Your teacher should have printed these for you. So it is all on one page for you this time. You will see articles 1 through 10 jigsaw tool, and one group is, or some groups will analyze or answer questions for articles 1 through 3. Another group will do 4 through 7, and another group will do 8 through 10. And so I want to see how you guys do in your jigsaw, and we'll come back together as a whole class once you get finished with this and regroup. Fantastic job. Now you know what we got to do when you do a jigsaw. It's not enough that you just have one section. You have to now be the expert of your section so that you can teach that to the other 2 people. So I want you to form a new group, and each group should have one representative from each of the different tools. So let's get together, new groups, and complete our jigsaw tool. Good job. You guys are rocking and rolling with this, and I am here for it. I love it. All right, now it is time for your quick write. And if you will get out a piece of notebook paper and a pen or a pencil, whatever your teacher prefers, and I want you to answer the question, how do the articles develop and refine the ideas expressed in the preamble? Use any of your annotation tools or tools to find your evidence. Great job. As always, I think I told you this, I know I told you this, in previous units, sometimes we struggle with these ideas. And it may be that you did really well with this one, but on a previous one you didn't do very well on. You just couldn't get your ideas to flow. So occasionally, I hope that your teacher is giving you the opportunity to share your quick writes so that you can help others kind of gain some ideas for their own. All right, let's look at your homework for this evening and what we'll be doing. I want you to use your copy of Articles 1 through 10 Jigsaw Tool and complete an argument delineation tool for the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. I want you to conduct the necessary internet research to write a response to the prompt that's on your board. Who was Eleanor Roosevelt? How are Eleanor Roosevelt's life and work connected to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights? So you have two different things that you need to do. You need to complete that argument delineation tool, and you need to do a little bit of research on Eleanor Roosevelt and why she would be giving a speech on the adoption of this Universal Declaration. So until next time, happy learning.